Hey guys, we're back again with another video. And today we're going to be talking about the 3 mindset blocks you have to overcome to find fulfillment. Without working on these 3 mindset blocks, I would not be able to be where I am today. I would not be able to have a successful business, having made 10K months in my business, having had built out my own dream career, and to have traveled the world, having found all these successful relationships, friendship, and personal fulfillment. I feel like I'm so at peace, even financial fulfillment, overcoming my financial goals, building wealth through investing, and just finally being in a place where I'm financially secure and understanding the importance of saving, better being able to manage my finances, all of this. Even right now, I'm in the process of writing my first fiction book and publishing that. And there were a lot of limiting beliefs and mindset blocks that came up for me in that process. And I think anything that you're gonna go after in life that's new, that you've never done before, it's natural to be anxious. It's natural to be a little bit weary, a little bit fearful of the outcome. A lot of us, we don't wanna fail. We have a huge fear of failure. In weird ways, we also have a huge fear of success. But I would not have been able to accomplish all the things I have accomplished if it wasn't for working on these common mental obstacles that will come up for you. And like I said, especially when you're going after something new in your life that you've never done before, there will be some fear that you are going to have to work with in order to clear the way to see it come into fruition. So I would say the first mindset block that I've really struggled with in my life, particularly when it comes to relationships, was not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, right? And I think a lot of the times when it comes to critiquing ourselves, we have so many things that we can say about ourselves. So, not feeling good enough, not feeling talented enough, not feeling, whether it has to do with being smart, having the skills, feeling worthy, it really just means that we don't have that self-esteem and that confidence to see something through. And whatever that may be, we need to get at the core of what that is. So example, for me, writing a book, from when I was really young, I love writing. And I don't think I've had a lot of people in my life tell me that my writing is good. I think now, starting with my business and having my newsletters and, now having to write majority of the content that I create, I do see that I am good at what I do and I am great at writing, but I think I know where my skills lie, and I'm maybe someone that's a bit better at creative writing than formal writing. And that's fine. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. It doesn't mean that I'm not good at something. It just means that there's opportunity to refine and to practice and to get good at something. And so I think that a lot of the times, just because we've never done something before, or other people do it better, we automatically assume that we're not good at it and that said thing isn't meant for us. But I think anything takes practice. There are some people that have a natural talent and they do something the first time and they're like magnificent, whatever they touch. So everything they touch turns to gold, the Midas touch. But sometimes to get to that Midas touch, it takes practice, it takes effort. Any basketball player that you see, I'm pretty sure the first shot they ever took wasn't a 3. But over time, heading to the court, consistently working on their free throws and their threes, eventually you will get there. And so I think that's anything in life. You don't have to be great at something right away, but you can work towards being great. And I think we forget that. And I think that we think that we're naturally just supposed to be gifted and good at things, instead of really challenging ourselves and realizing that anything worth having takes effort, it takes work, right? And you can perfect things over time. Maybe look at your favorite artists. Maybe you can argue that over time their music keeps getting better and better and better, right? Some people may argue that it gets worse, but naturally over time, the more you do something, the better that you get at it. And you can see that in any form of art or any sort of creative expression that exists in this world, right? Inventions, look at the iPhone. Every time, any gadget that you have in your house, look at the first original version of it and the version that it is now. If it's gone through multiple rebirths, you'll see that the iPhone 14 is definitely better than the iPhone 10. And that just goes to show you nothing is ever going to be perfect, and nothing is ever going to be perfect the first time you do it. So for me, writing my book, there were so many blocks because I felt like, well, I don't know, like I've never written a book before. Like, you know, maybe someone else has written a book, like this is definitely gonna come easier to them. Or like, maybe there are people who got A's in English class. And, you know, I got A's once in a while, but like maybe I got more B's, even though it's my first language. Like, I never felt like in school, like my writing was really championed. And so that can really discourage you because it's like, well, in a formal setting, I'm not good at writing. But then as I've started to write for myself, for my business, and I've seen how impactful that is, you know, there's a discrepancy there. It shows that obviously art is subjective when it comes to my writing and my craft. Of course, there's things that I can work on and being clear and more concise in my messaging, but it doesn't mean that I'm horrible either. And I think that just goes to show you that just because you're not perfect or you're not at the standard of society where everyone else thinks the standard is, doesn't mean that you're not good and that you can't work and refine it. So eventually I got to a place where I was able to accept that. And even though I've written my first book, it's probably not going to be my last book. And I know that with time, the more books I write, the better I'll get at it and the better my writing will be. And so I just need to start somewhere. And I think just focusing on starting is more important than finishing and how it's going to look when it's finished. I think just starting, whether that's that project or that goal, and that consistency and momentum to keep it up, even though you may not think you're the best, that's not the point. That should not be the focus. The focus should be on celebrating the fact that you are showing up for yourself within every moment that you interact with that goal and that future version of yourself. Second mindset block is not being resourceful enough. And I see this a lot more when it comes to like finances. A lot of the times we feel like I want to do this or I want to do that, but I don't have the money. Often enough, that is what sets most of us back from living a very fulfilled life, wanting to feel financially secure, wanting to have that financial freedom, and whatever that may look like for you, because it differs. A lot of the reasons why we're not able to do what we want to do is because we don't have the money to do so. And I think a big trend I'm seeing lately, and a big trend in the way that people are now relating to their finances, is more so through experience than through material possessions. I think growing up, I felt like there's a lot more pressure to have the car, have the house, have like that newest makeup item, or to have clothes from this fashion brand. And I think as I'm getting older, I'm seeing a lot more people value experiences versus possessions, right? So in my era, Gen Z, I would say, you know, late millennials, a lot of us are focusing on travel and catching flights and having these experiences, not only within our hometown, but outside of where we grew up, experiencing other people's cultures and homes. And it takes money to do that, to travel. And when you don't feel like you have the money, it can feel very limiting. But I really encourage people who don't feel like they have any financial backing to get started on something to find support and to really think outside of the box as to how you can be resourced to see a goal through. For example, when it comes to traveling, I'm really big on like how to travel on a budget, because I think it's really important for people to travel. And I want people to realize that you don't have to have thousands and thousands of dollars to have a fulfilling and a very meaningful and exciting trip. Of course, there are certain trips that are going to require a lot more money than others, but I think being creative, how can you be resourceful? You don't have the money. Well, maybe look at your finances to see where you can be cutting back. Maybe you're spending a lot of money in areas that you don't need to. Maybe there can be creative ways to increase your income. Maybe it's starting a business on the side so you have a little bit of extra money coming in every month to save towards that trip. Sometimes it's not like that immediate sense of feeling reason, but doing small things over time that will eventually give you that sense that you are resourceful. And I think a big way to also do this is finding support, because sometimes there are ways to do things that we've never even thought of until someone brings it up. For example, for me, finding things like couch surfing or traveling and staying at hostels can be very inexpensive ways to travel and find accommodation. A most recent one that I'm really interested in experimenting with this year is house sitting. So it's staying at people's homes and taking care of their pets. And, you know, I'm someone that had a cat. And so I have that experience of like taking care of a cat and raising one. And, you know, there are people that want to go on vacation and need someone to take care of their pet. And if I'm able to take care of their pet in exchange for staying in their accommodation, that is such a wonderful way to be in community and to share resources and to take advantage of being able to travel and see the world while also giving back. And this is very similar to the couch surfing, although couch surfing, you don't really have to do anything, which is probably even better, but it's just people that have their homes and they have rooms available and they just want to give back by helping people to crash and travel. So I think there's ways to think outside of the box. You may think in the immediate moment like, wow, I don't have the resources to do XYZ, but how can I find the ways to eventually get those resources instead of feeling like I'm the victim, my situation's never gonna change, there's no way out. There's always a way out if you believe that there is a way out and you open the door for those opportunities and for abundance to come in. A lot of the times we think that we have to sit and wait for an opportunity when we have to create the opportunity. I always really love that quote where it's like God helps those who helps themselves. And I think that's so true. How many times do you see people allowing life to pass them by because they're waiting on this one moment? I know so many people that are lonely and want relationships, but like aren't putting themselves out there to go on dates. Like, how are you gonna find someone when it's sort of like getting real with yourself? Like, these are the things that I want. How can I find the resources in order for me to call this next version of myself in? And it doesn't happen by just waiting. So finding the resources to get you to where you want to be is really important, and I think the best way to do that is through leaning on community, doing the research and seeing what are other creative ways, out of the box ways to do the things that I really want to do in order to create the life that I love. And then I would say last but not least, the third mindset block that I see is most common with my clients, with friends, family members, people in my life, just seeing others try to go after things but ultimately never do, is not feeling capable enough. I think, and this kind of ties into the not feeling good enough. A lot of the times we feel like we don't have the skills. We're not the smartest person in the room, and because I'm not the smartest person in the room, I'm not able to do it. And I think anyone can really do anything they put their mind to. And this comes down to how capable you feel like you are of doing something. No matter how worthy you feel like of having something, if you don't feel like you can, there's a difference between the intention and the action. So you can have the intention, you can feel worthy, you can feel deserving of something, but if you don't feel capable of going out there and doing it, if you don't have the confidence to go out there and do it, if you feel like you don't have the information necessary to get started, you can feel very overwhelmed and you will remain in a place where you feel stuck because you don't know how to start. It's like, I really want to do this thing, but how? I don't know. And it is that overwhelm of not knowing or not feeling like you have enough information to do so that keeps you in the same place. And so I think a great way to overcome that is to not only just find support, but to educate yourself. I think a lot of the times we don't know how to make decisions because we don't have enough information. And so it's like, how can we go out there, find the information that we need to make a reasonable decision? So I, for one, was not always great with managing my money. And it's crazy. I could have been in the same place, spiraling into debt, never having my finances together, never feeling financially secure. But one day I decided, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to be broke. I want to have wealth. I want to be well off, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to find people that are living that life and ask questions. And the first way I was able to do that was buying a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It opened up my perspective on those who have wealth and those who don't, and what are the steps and the actions that those who have wealth take that those who don't. And it was such an eye-opener, and it made me really realize, like, I have the ability to do XYZ because now I have the information on how to do it, and I feel so much more confident. I feel so much more capable because I have the information in front of me. So really educating yourself. Knowledge is power here. Reading books, taking online courses, hiring a coach like myself that has invested their time and money into these resources already and is now just regurgitating the information in a very useful and strategic way to help you get to where you need to get to at an accelerated pace. Anything you can get your hands on, being in community, joining Facebook groups of people that are working towards the same thing. This will help you to realize that, like, we're not alone. I was never great at money, and now I'm someone that feels a lot more secure, a lot more knowledgeable, a lot more confident about my finances. So doesn't mean that because you started off at one place in your life that you can't get to another place, that your life is already predetermined for you and you started off one day and you'll end off that one way. I really want to encourage and empower people that you are able to take accountability for your life. You are able to empower yourself to do better. It doesn't necessarily always mean the things that you want are going to be guaranteed and they're going to happen and they're going to come to you, but something has to click. Something will come to fruition and you will see the success that you want in whichever way that the universe sees favorable. So really don't give up. I think a lot of these mindset blocks are really illusions at the end of the day. It is our own internal fears that are holding us back, that make us feel like we don't have the capability, we don't have the resources, and we don't feel worthy of achieving said goal or thing. And I think once you're able to really eat away at these limiting beliefs and these mindset blocks, you'll finally be able to get some more clarity as to why you're in the situation you're in and how to get to the next place, how to level up, how to ascend, how to really step into that future best version of yourself. And not that when you do, these mindset blocks still won't appear. Even for me, there are a lot of things that I'm going to continue experiencing in life that I've never had to experience before. A lot of goals that I want to set out and achieve that I've never had come to fruition. And so there's a little bit of anxiety, there's a little bit of fear, and there's always going to be that little nudge that comes back to eat away at you. And you really have to keep yourself in check. You really have to keep your mindset in check, because it is such an easy thing to creep up on you. There's always that little fear, there's always that little devil on your shoulder, little angel on your shoulder, and it's up to you. Which one are you gonna listen to the most? Are you gonna listen to the limiting part of yourself that tells you you can't do something? Or are you gonna listen to the encouraging, empowering part of yourself that's gonna tell you, hey, I can't guarantee anything, but what I can tell you is that you can do it. You can do it. And I think it's up to you to decide which voice you want to listen to the most and which voice do you want to feed. And really checking in with yourself as you're working towards goals in your life, as you're working towards really creating the life that you love, which voice are you listening to? Which voice are you feeding? How can you keep these 3 mindset blocks in check so that you can just open up the doors to much more abundance and fulfillment in your life? And so if this was very helpful for you, you already know what to do. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.